As someone who's done gig work since 2015, I'm going to be frank with you. There's two different strategies, the margin strategy and the volume strategy of how to make $1,000 every single week. But I'll tell you this, I'll also be honest with you. I think in 2025, part of this is harder than ever. So you're going to want to pay attention to this. So number one, the margin strategy, which is my favorite. I'll tell you that. So the margin strategy is when I'm out there driving, I want to take less offers, less order volume per hour, but they have a higher margin. Literally the margin there between the miles on that offer and then the pay for that offer, you want as big of a margin as possible. And again, being frank with you, I think in 2025, this strategy is harder than ever. Can you think of any reasons why the margin strategy might be harder than ever in 2025? Think about how you're paid as a driver on any of these gig apps. So typically, it is base pay plus any incentives, promotional pay, and then tips. So think of those three. What's changed in the last couple of years or so? I mean, the base pay, the minimum contribution from these companies, that hasn't necessarily changed. Customer tipping, could you say the customers over the last, 1 to 3 years, has there been a significant change to how customers tip, the tipping features? Sure, some changes on these apps with tipping features, encouraging more tips, but on the macro overall, have customers really tipped less or started tipping more? I don't think so. So that leaves that other piece of the pie here, the incentives or promotional pay. That's, I think, especially over the last 3 years, that's the part that's changed, unfortunately, for the negative for a lot of couriers. So if base pay is staying the same, generally tips are staying the same, but 80% of your customers hopefully are leaving a tip. And then that tip amount, I want it to average between $4 or $5. Okay, so if incentives are going down, Mike, how can I get more incentive pay? How can I capitalize on any incentives that are in my marketplace? Here's what you can do, because you can't really affect base pay. Sure, base pay is based on a lot of things, estimated time, estimated distance, and desirability, at least on the Dasher front. So yeah, if Dashers don't want it, the $2 or $3 offer, and it's constantly declined, typically DoorDash is going to then increase that base pay. But for you on the individual level, if you can drive on maybe other apps, if you drive less hours on DoorDash or Grubhub or Uber Eats, maybe they'll send you a quest on Uber Eats that has trip incentives. Maybe you'll get something per delivery bonus on DoorDash. So drive less if you can. And understandably, not everyone can cut down hours. If DoorDash is my thing, I don't want to cut down even 5 hours for the week because it brings me money. I understand that. Number two, when it comes to incentives, experiment and at least try any new bonus structures, because anecdotal, you can share your own experience down below in the comments. But once I started to see less and less per delivery peak pay, the per delivery bonus, then I'm not going to keep trying to get it or drive on it if it's super low anyway. Because maybe, and I've seen this here in Pittsburgh, you can comment in your marketplace, that the earn by time hourly peak pay was higher. I felt like I could calculate, all right, I'm probably going to make more money getting the $4, $5, $6 plus per active hour peak pay than the $1 or $1.50 standard per delivery peak pay. There's quests, there's the flat rates, like the earn by time on Uber Eats that they're piloting. So maybe look for flat rates there. There's Boost Plus active time pay on Uber, again, kind of piloting that, which is akin to the earn by time hourly. There's beta programs like distance pay. So I'm going to get more just flat out per mile. It's a per mile, not a per time or per delivery bonus, but distance pay a per mile bonus. See which ones actually mathematically, in your experience, in your marketplace, pay you the most money. Whichever one is going to, again, margin strategy here, give you the biggest margin. You want those offers and take less of them, like 2 ideally. I don't know if you can do that. Take like two $10+ orders to get $20+ in the hour. More realistically, 3 if you can. And then we think about tips, because I mentioned the base pay and then incentives and then tips. So remember our goal. It's 80% tip frequency, I call it. So 80% of your customers, hopefully, are leaving a tip. And that tip is averaging $4 to $5. So what can you do to increase a tip from the customer? This all goes into the margin, the overall pay for the miles you're going to drive here. It could be demographic, where you're driving, the clientele in that demographic, in that area. It could be customer service. Frankly, I think, I'd say 15%, maybe 10% of offers are handed to me now. So most of these are contactless. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's still things you can do on contactless to get a post-delivery tip. The first thing I think of is following exactly the delivery instructions. So super small things you can do. Just good customer service shows you're paying attention. They'll say, put it on the red chair next to the front door. Put it on the green patio table on my porch. Put it on this and that. So read it. Don't just put it on the ground or somewhere they don't want it. Just follow the instructions. It's not going to guarantee you're going to get a post-delivery tip, but it's going to set you up best versus ignoring delivery instructions. Now, option number 2, instead of the margin strategy, it is the volume strategy, which is basically the opposite. It's taking a smaller margin, but I'm taking more volume of it. So it's not paying as much. Maybe $1.30 a mile versus we want at least $1.75, ideally $2 to $3 plus on earn per offer. So instead of taking 2 to 3 deliveries per hour, I'm going to ideally take shorter runs. They're not going to probably pay as much, but I'll take more of those in that hour. So think 4 deliveries. I don't know if you could squeeze in 5. Maybe you could do 2 stacked orders where both of them have the pickup at the same restaurant and they're shorts. But I think 4 deliveries is like a reasonable max you can do in an hour. Now, the only thing with a volume strategy, I'm taking more offers, is you might get paid less per mile because I'm not being as choosy on the per mile rate as I would on a per delivery margin strategy. I just want more cash flow. So I'm taking like $5.50 offer, $5.50, $5.50, $6 versus a $9, $10 order. So you're thinking, hey, just give me like at least $5 here, because if you do 4, then it's $16 in an hour if you're doing 4 of those. So you want more than that. 5, if I do 4 of those, it's $20 an hour. And it's not unrealistic to try to get like $5.50, $6 offers and get 4 of those, then you're making $22, $25+ an hour. Now, should you kind of pick either one or can you do both? Yes, you can do both if you want. I lean towards the margin strategy because I don't want more parking, more headaches, more drop-offs, just more of everything on the volume strategy. But in actuality, chances are you're going to work on a blend of these while also multi-apping. So you could do a margin strategy, multi-apping on all these apps in the same niche, also multi-niche and different niches entirely, like grocery, rideshare, food delivery as well. And then lastly, the stark truth, either one, the margin or the volume, in 2025 and beyond, you are simply going to have to drive more hours. I will be frank and honest with you. You can't just crush it and make $30 an hour and do that consistently and not drive as many hours. You'll make $1,000 a week. If you happen to have that, I think that's kind of an outlier. That's awesome that your marketplace is on fire. But I think most markets, regardless of the strategy, the mode, even the app, even whatever it is, the offer types you're getting, you're just going to have to drive more hours than you think to get the $1,000 every single week. And I will say, at least on DoorDash, but other apps have this too, like Uber Eats, right? That affiliate income, if you do share with friends and family, etc., then that could be an extra, whatever it's going to be, $250, $300, whenever that does clear. And it's not going to be something like super regular, but that could help you earn the $1,000 for some weeks. And I know DoorDash, for example, just recently updated their referral system as well to make it easier for you. But yes, just please don't stick to one app. Ideally, don't stick to one niche as well. Experiment, try the new features. If something's not working for you, if you're going for incentive programs, if it makes sense mathematically, then I just want you to know your marketplace. And frankly, just work less if possible to make the more money, like the $1,000 every week.